Hi everyone, welcome back to Gardening from Square One, and if you are new here, welcome. I'm Lynn, and today we're highlighting plants that perform well during the high heat of summer. And I'm not talking about simply surviving. So I'm talking to you who garden in Nevada, southern Arizona, parts of inland California, wherever it is very hot during the summer. So these plants will perform well for you. I'm going to give a brief tour highlighting these plants. But you know, there's an old saying, the proof is in the pudding. Well, in this tour. So let's get started. So first up is this Vitex tree. This tree performs well in zones 5 to 6 all the way up to 9. It'll have these gorgeous dark purple blooms that will begin sometime in the spring, so mid-spring, and they will last all the way through the fall. Now this is a Shoal Creek Vitex. This is one of the larger Vitex shrubs. This one actually forms a tree that can become about 15 feet in height. And as you can see, it's starting its second flush of blooms, and the flush on these plants can last for, many weeks. And then it lulls and then it starts all over again. There are many varieties of Vitex trees that you can grow. Some of them are much smaller. There are seedless varieties, like for example, the Summertime Blues Vitex tree has a different color. I'll pop up a picture, but the blooms skew more blue lavender versus this deep dark blue that you see here. All of them are absolute pollinator magnets, no disease or pest issues. There's also a busy bee Vitex that I will pop up. It becomes about 10 feet in height. 6 to 8 feet in width, and it is a low seed variety. And then of course there is the Rocksteady Vitex, which it's supposed to become a lot taller than it becomes wide, so about 4 to 6 feet in width and about 12 feet in height. I'll pop in a picture of that too. But all of these plants, they perform well. And by the way, this Shoal Creek Vitex, I don't water it at all. It's in the lawn and it's got its metal edging down here. But I water my lawn once a week, 30 minutes, and that's all it gets. And I don't water in the spring. I don't start watering the lawn at all until it starts to become, pretty hot, not on any kind of regular basis. Now, point of reference, we get 36 to 40 inches of rain here, and most of that occurs in the spring and in the fall, but not during the summer. So it gets water, 30 minutes from what the sprinklers give it, but that's all it needs. And the Summertime Blues Vitex, I have one in my front yard that I've shown on the previous video. That tree is on no irrigation, and it is blooming its head off, so to speak. Okay, so that's plant number 1. So next up is a white wedding hydrangea. Believe it or not, this plant is growing in part sun, gets a little bit of full sun, but it doesn't get shade until later in the day. This was planted in the fall of 2024. Look at the size of these blooms. And this has been in bloom for 2 months. So it started blooming in June. This is a baby plant. Like I said, it's only been in my garden since the fall of 2024. But look at these leaves. They're still green. They're not crispy. I'm really impressed with this hydrangea. I actually made a video about, this is a hydrangea that you may want to grow. But it is a Southern Living Plant Collections plant. So one would think it could take the heat here in the South, and it's demonstrating that again. This is an oak leaf hydrangea, and it is in part shade. And that white wedding hydrangea actually gets part sun, and it looked much better than this, which is interesting. This is the El Niño Chitalpa. Now the Chitalpa is a cross between the desert willow, which grows in hot climates like Las Vegas, and you'll see it in Texas, the hotter parts of California. You'll see them all over the place. And then also a catalpa tree. Now this one, so I'm 5'6". This was a 1 quart plant. This plant was put in the ground in the fall of 2023, and it is literally, I'm going to say it's at least 9 feet tall at this point. It starts blooming early, so mid-spring, and it just takes off. It has just taken off. And then it has these gorgeous, they look like orchids, flowers that are supposed to be amazingly fragrant. But look at the leaves on this plant. Look at the size of it. Look at my hand. Now I kind of have small hands, but still, these leaves are at least 3 to 4 inches in length and very pointy at the ends. Very healthy plant. It doesn't care about the heat one iota. It is hardy, I believe, down to zones 5. It will become about 6 to 8 feet in width and about 15 feet in height. So this is another stellar choice for those of you who are gardening in hot summer climates, and when August hits, you still want plants that look fabulous. Okay, moving on. So next is Artemisia. Look at the leaves on this plant. And this guy, I know it's looking kind of rough, but this planter bed flooded on July 4th and it is bouncing back. You'll see even down here. But you can look at the top and tell it's not phased at all by the high temperatures. In fact, it is continuing to grow. Now this one is not evergreen, nor are any of the other two plants that I showed you. They're all deciduous. But if you want something that's going to have a presence from spring all the way until your first frost, this one can take the heat as well. Next is Denim and Lace Russian Sage. Now these plants are pretty cold hardy, and they are good for areas all the way up to zone 9. These plants are in my perennial long bed too, and they flooded. I planted these last spring, so they've only been in my garden for about a year at this point, a little more than a year, and I had to cut them all the way back down. I'll pop in a picture, and this was after July 4th flooding here in Texas Hill Country. And so as you can see, they're coming back. Now I need to come in and do a little more or editing of parts that still aren't doing well, but this plant, this Denim and Lace Russian Sage, is not bothered by the heat. It will bloom, which mine isn't right now because it's recovering. I'll pop in a picture of what it looked like this spring, but last year these little plants bloomed all the way until we had our first hard frost. So this is another stellar plant if you garden in a hot climate. When I gardened in the desert, I grew Russian sage, not this variety, just, you know, the common Russian sage, and it definitely didn't need a lot of water. Now that was sandy soil. I have clay alkaline, and it seems not to care about either. It performs so well in so many places, but oh my God, it really doesn't care about the heat at all. Next is roses, you guys. Now, please excuse my knee to deadhead. I sprained my ankle earlier this week, and I've only been out in this garden for about an hour all week, and that is very unusual. I try to get out here at least, you know, an hour, hour and a half, about 4 or 5 times a week, and that just has not been the case. But as you can see, this rose bush, healthy leaves. This is a Cathedral Bells. So my humidity right now, yes, I'm out here in 50% humidity, and I think it's somewhere around 90 degrees. And you see the health of these leaves on this plant. There's no mildew, fungal diseases, nothing like that. And as you can see, it's continuing to bloom. Now it would certainly look better if I could get out here and deadhead it. Now roses will need water though, but once they're established, they are much tougher than, you know, a lot of people think they are. There are some diseases you have to be on the lookout for, like rosette disease. Should I ever get that on a plant here, I will probably not put a plant and put a rose bush in that position again. But you can see here it's about to have new blooms. Sprinter boxwood is definitely another one that can definitely take the heat. This plant is hardy from, I think, at least zone 5 all the way up to 9. I have it growing in full sun. This one gets sun from about 10 in the morning until about 4 p.m. So it is definitely full sun, and no issues with this either. Looks like it has a little bit of spider mite damage going on, but in terms of taking the heat, if you want a boxwood that's heat tolerant, the Sprinter boxwoods are the only ones that I will put in full sun here. Okay, so this plant is a salvia. It's a new one this year. This is Big Sky Living Large. It's a proven winner's plant. Now, I know it has some damage on it, pest damage. I don't spray for it, you know. I guess one could, but it is doing fine. It is, y'all, this plant did not start blooming until the temperatures hit the mid-90s. I think it likes the heat. So that's it, y'all. A few excellent choices of plants that don't just survive during the hot summer temperatures, but these plants, they bask in the sun looking good all season. Please consider clicking like, subscribe, and notifications. Thank you for watching this video. I sincerely appreciate it. I hope you have a great day in your garden. Bye.